On today's video, we are going to be continuing with that winter Christmas neutral decor. I'm currently getting ready for Christmas. We're only about a week away, but I'm still doing some last minute decorating and getting ready for my guests. In the meantime, I wanted to welcome you to our home and show you some decorations from last year's Christmas. I love mixing vintage and modern. I love the rustic, elegant style and mixing old with new. Hello, I am Emily with J Bone & Company and welcome to my channel. We are going to be making over a large tray with this gorgeous Whimsykel paper. It's called Neutral Baroque. We're going to be using some Elmwood paint. Here it is from Fusion Mineral Paint. We're going to be revamping and restyling a set of vintage bells that I already had. And we are going to be making over some silver bells, making those over into brass bells, as well as some Christmas artwork. Y'all, let's go ahead and get started with these projects. The first project I'm calling a Baroque tray. This tray I picked up for only $3.99 at a thrift store. It's a large tray and I really don't mind the picture except for the finish is messed up. It's kind of foggy and cloudy, so I knew that it needed to be made over and it was the perfect piece for what I had in mind. So I picked it up and then I gave it a quick coat of Power Primer by Rethunk Junk. I then took out my paper. This is a Whimsykel paper and it's called Neutral Baroque. It's a gorgeous paper. It's a gorgeous neutral kind of taupey and off-white cream colors together. I think it's just gorgeous. It's 21 by 29 inches and I thought that half of it would look great on this tray. I have another project that I'm going to be making with the other half, but that will be on my next video and I can't wait to show you that project as well. So after the primer had dried, I took out my Elmwood paint by Fusion Mineral Paint and I gave it a coat around the edges. The reason I painted it first is because I knew that it would be harder to paint once the paper had been decoupaged on the tray. So I ended up giving it 2 complete coats of the Fusion Mineral Paint. A lot of times one coat of paint will be enough, but on this metal it didn't cover completely, so it needed 2 coats. It's a good idea to paint the background of what you will be decoupaging white so that it makes your print appear brighter. Now, if you don't want it brighter, you could paint it a darker color. After the paint had completely dried, I took out my black wax from Fusion Mineral Paint and I gave it a quick coat of the black wax over the Elmwood and then I wiped it away. I love how waxes just give the paint color a richer color and then they add some dimension. The good thing about Fusion Mineral Paint is that most of the time it does not require a top coat unless it was going to be on a very used surface like a tabletop that's going to be used often. Otherwise, it doesn't need a primer, it's self-leveling, and it doesn't need a top coat. I let the wax dry completely or set up so that it would not come off of the tray and get onto my paper. After it had done so, I then took out my Decoupage Gel and I gave it a good coat all over this surface. The part that wasn't raised up on the edge, the white part. It was kind of hard to see if I had it on there or not because it was white, but in the end, I think I got it completely covered. And after I had the Decoupage Gel on the piece on the tray, I then took out my paper and I gave it a spray with my fine mist spray bottle. The reason you want to spray your paper is so that it releases the wrinkles, and then when you go to place it on your piece, there will be a lot less wrinkles, if any at all. After I had misted the paper, I carefully put it on top of the tray. This one was a little tricky because it needs to be even. So I just placed it as good as I could. I just eyeballed it, and then I pressed it down onto the tray, trying to get along the edges. So typically I use my hands, and then I will normally use my brayer as well. This one was a little bit trickier because of the curved edges, but I did the best that I could. After I had placed it on the tray and I tried to get it as flat as possible and make sure that it had adhered all over the tray, I then went over it with short brush strokes with another coat of that gel. This project is the longest of all the projects. The next several projects will be much shorter, so stick around because I think you're going to want to see those as well. After the paper was completely dry, I then located my X-Acto knife. Yay, I finally found it. Anyway, and then I took it out and I carefully went around the edges with the X-Acto knife. Now this takes a little bit of skill, actually a lot of skill, because you can't really see where the edges are. You can kind of just feel it, but you couldn't really see it. So I had to be careful. There were a couple spots that I cut too much into the tray, but I was able to fix them no problem. The beauty of these papers are you can add some of the extra paper that's on the edges back to your project, and it just blends in and it looks great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go all the way around the tray very carefully with the X-Acto knife, cutting away that extra or excess paper. Thank y'all for sticking around and watching this project. This one will be over very soon. I ended up cutting out a lot of the footage. I didn't think you needed to see me cut around the whole edge of this entire project, but I really think that you're going to love the two bell projects as well as the final projects. I think the styling turned out really pretty, so stick around so you can see those three projects as well. I ended up having to go around the edges in some areas with some more Decoupage Gel because the paper just wasn't stuck down as good as I wanted it to be. And then there were also a couple areas where I had cut off accidentally too much paper. So then I just cut a little paper, a little piece from the scraps, and then I just added it back on and decoupaged it. You couldn't even see it, and it looked great. There were also one or two spots on the paper that looked like it had, when I must have kind of torn a little bit whenever I was putting on the decoupage gel. It's probably hard to see in the film, but you could see it because it was white versus the off-white. So I just took a little bit of the Elmwood paint and I dabbed it on, and then I kind of wiped it off so it just kind of blended in with the paper. This is the area that I had to add the Elmwood paint. Right there was a little white spot, so I just took my paint, I dabbed it on, I kind of blended it in, and then I ended up wiping a little bit off so you could see that white part of the design. So what do you think about how this tray turned out? If you like it, give me a thumbs up and let me know. And if you've not yet subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. It's totally free so you can see more projects like these. The next project is this set of vintage bells. I thrifted them several years ago for just a few dollars, and I tried to enhance them with this ribbon and rope and greenery, and for a while they looked okay, but this year they were looking pretty rough. When I initially purchased them, they were on this dated gold and burgundy kind of twisted up rope, so I'd cut that off, and then I decided to go with this more neutral look, but it's looking pretty rough now, so I wanted to give it an update. So I took off the greenery, took off the rope, and took off that black velvet bow. I ended up putting the greenery in some ice skates that I have hung up, so I used that. I wrapped up the rope and put it back in my stash, and then I ended up using the black velvet to rehang these bells. I actually use this black velvet a lot in my house in my Christmas decorations, so it all goes together and is cohesive with my other decorations. I'm now measuring out the velvet ribbon in different lengths. I will then attach each one to the different bells, and then I will attach each ribbon to the brass ring. Every year I hang these bells on our front door, not on the outside, but the inside doorknob, so whenever someone comes in, we can hear the bells ringing, and I typically keep these out for the entire winter season. Hey, if y'all have a favorite recipe that you like to make over the holidays, such as an appetizer, a dessert, or a quick and easy meal, I would love for y'all to share that with me in the comments. I am in the middle of trying to make decisions on our menu and what I'm going to make, and it would be helpful to have your recipes or your ideas in the comments, and I'm sure some other people would enjoy that as well. I know I'm going to make some sausage balls because my older son requested that, or those, and my youngest son requested some little pigs in a blanket. So I will be making those two items for sure. I don't know what kind of dessert I will be making, but I'm sure I will be coming up with something. And then a lot of times I make these roast beef sandwiches as well. So those are my three things that I'll be making for sure. I would love to hear about yours. I think these bells turned out good. They look classy and high-end and just a little bit more modern and simplified. They will be hanging on my front door on the inside so we can hear them when everyone comes in the door. They're such a nice sound. Let me know what you think of how they turned out. Hit that like button if you haven't already. I'm calling this next project brass bells. However, they are not brass at all. They are actually silver metal bells. I picked them up at either a thrift store or a Dollar General. I can't really remember, but either way, they were very cheap and inexpensive. There was nothing wrong with the silver color. However, I prefer this brass color in my decor. So I took out my bronze metallic paint from Fusion Mineral Paint, and I gave it a quick coat of paint. This paint dries very quickly and it covers very well, so just one coat of paint and they were completely covered. After the paint had dried, I gave them a coat of black wax. This wax will give them an extra layer of protection and will also just enrich that metallic paint and just give them a little bit extra aged look and dimension. I then went up to my attic, which we have a walk-in attic, which is basically like a huge storage closet. So I went looking for some different ribbon, and I found kind of some satin ribbon, and I think a grosgrain ribbon, and then this little cord. I thought that the cord would work the best because it was kind of like a little tiny corded rope, and I had a whole spool of it. I have no idea where this came from. Who knows? Anyway, I just cut it at different lengths, attached it to the bells, and then up at the top, I tied them in a knot all together. So the good thing about these bells are you can just hang them, on a peg shelf. You can hang them on a wreath, or, attach them to some ice skates or whatever you want to do. They're a perfect addition to a lot of different decorations, and I think they turned out looking high-end. We still have one more project to go after this one, but I love to hear when y'all tell me which one of the projects is your favorite. It always gives me good ideas on what to do in the next video. So let me know which technique or which project that you like the best. But never know that these bells are not really brass. If you like this project and how the bells turned out, please give me a thumbs up. These days, I don't get too many regular Christmas cards. Most of my cards that I receive in the mail are the photo cards, and I really love those. But every once in a while, I get a regular Christmas card, and I actually received this one at my office this week, and I thought that the card was really pretty. It was a Christmas tree, and then it kind of had faded, looked like watercolor Christmas trees in the background with some gold, and then it said Merry Christmas at the bottom. And I thought that this would be perfect for my decor at my house, so I decided to frame it. I often purchase picture frames at the thrift store and garage sales. Usually find them anywhere between 25 cents and a couple dollars depending on the size. I really love the ornate ones and typically the gold ones, but I find some beautiful silver ones as well. This is a very simple but beautiful project. All I had to do is clean up the frame, cut out the card, and it's done. If you're interested in any of the products that I have shared in this video, you can find them linked in my description. You can find my Whimsykel papers and my paints and products on my website. It's www.jbowenandcompany.com, and they'll be linked right in my description. Also, my latest neutral winter/Christmas decor video will be linked right there in the comments. On the next video, I'm going to be using the second half of that neutral Baroque paper to make two beautiful projects, as well as some bottle brush tree projects. It's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.